Ladies and gentlemen, you were not born to merely exist. You were born to lead, to reign, and to overcome. Life is not simply about enduring storms. It's about learning to walk through them with the authority of a renewed mind. No matter what you face, debt, rejection, sickness, betrayal, or failure, there is one truth that must become your anchor. You can defeat anything with the right mindset. Every individual is born with potential, but not every individual activates that potential. Why? Because potential is useless without the right environment for growth. And that environment starts with how you think. Your thoughts are the architects of your destiny. What you tolerate in your mind, you will eventually authorize in your life. Until you change the way you think, you will never rise above what life throws at you. The most dangerous weapon on earth is not a bomb or a bullet. It is a human being who has made a decision. A decision to rise, a decision to win, a decision to never bow again. The difference between those who conquer and those who collapse is not strength, education, or background. It's mindset. The kind of mindset that refuses to allow circumstances to become limitations. The kind of mindset that speaks to storms, not about them. Some people pray for a lighter burden. Others build a stronger back. But the ones who change history are those who transform the way they see the burden. They stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this trying to build in me? Because they understand that challenges are not obstacles, they are opportunities. Every crisis is a classroom, every failure is a lesson, and every setback is a setup for something greater. But you cannot see that unless your mind is trained to think beyond pain. You were never designed to live at the mercy of your problems. You were designed to rule over them. That means your problems are not in control. Your perspective is. And if you adjust your perspective, you change your power. Let me tell you this. Victory does not start when the enemy falls. Victory starts when your mind refuses to bow. When your thoughts are filled with clarity, purpose, and conviction, no defeat can hold you. Your mindset must be stronger than the pressure around you. Life will test you. That's not a question. The real question is, what will it find in you when it does? Will it find fear, or will it find faith? Will it find excuses, or will it find discipline? The way you think will determine what rises to the surface when the heat is turned up. And when you develop a mindset built on principles instead of preferences, you become immovable. Because principles don't change under pressure. Feelings do. The truth is, you cannot live above your level of thought. If your thinking is weak, your actions will be weak. If your thinking is shallow, your vision will be limited. But if your thinking is bold, focused, and aligned with purpose, then there is no barrier that can hold you. Your life is always moving in the direction of your dominant thoughts. So if you want to change your life, you must first change the narrative that plays in your mind. Stop rehearsing the worst and start declaring the best. Speak from your vision, not your pain. Walk by what you know to be true, not what you feel in the moment. There is power in your thoughts. Power to create, to heal, to shift, and to restore. But you must train your mind like you train a muscle. Feed it daily with truth. Challenge every lie it believes. And refuse to let temporary conditions redefine your permanent identity. When your mind is grounded in purpose, no temporary storm can steal your peace. When your thoughts are rooted in who you are and why you exist, fear loses its grip. You will still feel pressure, but it won't shake your foundation. You may get knocked down, but you'll always rise again. Because your mind is not driven by what is happening around you, but by what is established within you. People who live from a renewed mindset don't avoid challenges. They outgrow them. They don't fear opposition. They see it as confirmation that they're on the right path, and they don't crumble in crisis, they evolve. Your mindset is not just about positive thinking, it's about principle-based thinking. It's about training your mind to believe in what is eternal, not just what is visible. To think from destiny, not just survival. When your thoughts are dominated by vision, distractions lose their power. When your thoughts are saturated with conviction, doubt becomes a stranger. And when your thoughts are built on purpose, defeat becomes a stepping stone. You don't need life to get easier. You need your mind to get stronger. Because at the end of the day, the greatest battlefield is not around you. It is within you. Mindset is the womb where victory or defeat is first conceived. Before you ever see success in your life, it has to be carried and nurtured in your mind. Every outcome in your life, every breakthrough, failure, every step forward or backward was first conceived as a thought. You never accidentally win. You win on purpose with a mind that has been conditioned, trained, and aligned with the truth of who you are and what you were born to do. Think of your mind as a womb. It receives ideas, nurtures them, and then gives birth to reality. If you carry fear, you'll deliver anxiety. If you carry bitterness, you'll give birth to sabotage. But if you carry vision, you'll give birth to legacy. If you carry faith, you'll deliver results that defy odds. You cannot plant seeds of defeat in your thoughts and expect to harvest a life of victory. Many people fail not because they lack opportunity, but because they've been pregnant with self-doubt for too long. They carry the seed of impossibility. They nurture limitation through their language. They talk themselves out of destiny because their mind is programmed to lose. But victory is not first a condition, it's a conception. It begins when you dare to believe that what is within you is greater than what is against you. Your mindset is sacred ground. It's where the invisible becomes visible. The world you live in externally is only a reflection of what you've been nurturing internally. That's why protecting your thoughts is not optional. It is essential. You don't just allow anything to grow in a womb. You guard it, feed it, and make sure what's inside has the right conditions to develop. So why are you allowing toxic thoughts to dwell freely in your mind? Why are you nurturing doubt, comparison, and fear? You must become the gatekeeper of your own mind. Because the moment a thought takes root, it begins to shape your reality. A single idea planted long enough becomes a mindset becomes a habit, and habits create lifestyles. If you consistently think small, you'll live small. If you consistently think like a failure, you will sabotage success. But if you start thinking like a king, a leader, a solution, then your life begins to move in that direction. This is why the transformation of your life cannot happen outside of the transformation of your mind. You don't change your life by changing your surroundings first. You change your life by changing your mentality. Until your mindset shifts, your patterns will remain the same. You'll find yourself in new seasons with the same struggles because you never uprooted the mental seeds of defeat. Mindset is not just about having positive thoughts. It's about having purposeful thoughts. Thoughts that are grounded in truth, directed by vision, and guarded by discipline. Thoughts that align with the blueprint of why you exist. You are not random. You are not average. You are not a mistake. But if you don't think like a person of purpose, you'll live like a person of confusion. And when your thoughts are confused, your life will be chaotic. If you've been seeing defeat in your life, ask yourself, what have you been nurturing in the womb of your mind? Have you been feeding fear with constant negativity? Have you been meditating on your past instead of envisioning your future? You can't give birth to purpose while incubating regret. You can't carry destiny while feeding doubt. You have to starve the thoughts that weaken you and feed the thoughts that strengthen you. What you allow to grow in your mind is what will eventually govern your life. So make the decision today, be intentional about what you conceive in your thoughts. Because conception precedes manifestation. You don't need a miracle, you need a new mindset. One that conceives victory before it's visible. One that holds on to purpose even when the world around you doesn't make sense. One that says, I may not see it yet, but I already carry it. Because mindset is the womb where victory or defeat is first conceived. You were not created to surrender to problems. You were designed to dominate them. You are not a creature of chance. You are a being of purpose. There is nothing accidental about your existence. Before you ever encountered a problem, the solution was already placed inside you. You were not placed on this earth to be ruled by fear, debt, sickness, depression, or confusion. You were placed here to govern, to lead, and to bring order to chaos. You were designed with dominion in your DNA. But here's the tragedy: most people spend their lives bowing to the very things they were built to overcome. They surrender to conditions they were called to change. They adjust to dysfunction. They get comfortable in cycles of defeat. Why? Because somewhere along the way, they believed the lie that problems are permanent and power is out of reach. They lost sight of their design. But I came to tell you, you are not a product of your pain. You are a product of your purpose. Your purpose is not intimidated by your problems. In fact, your problems are often the platform where your purpose is revealed. The storm does not come to break you. It comes to prove what's inside you. And what's inside you is more powerful than anything outside you. But you must awaken it. Domination does not mean control of others. It means mastery of self and authority over circumstances. You were meant to rise, not retreat. You were meant to speak to mountains, not study them. You were meant to break generational cycles, not extend them. You were meant to bring solutions where others only see struggle. You were meant to set standards, not settle. The original blueprint for your life is one of rulership, not retreat. You were designed to manage the earth, to steward vision, to confront chaos with clarity. That means problems are not your master. They are your assignment. But as long as you keep surrendering to them, you'll never activate the power you carry. You don't ask problems for permission. You speak to them with authority rooted in identity. When a lion walks into a room, it doesn't ask for respect. It carries it. That's how you were created to live. Problems should not define your posture, you define theirs. You don't react, you respond with dominion. But you cannot operate in dominion until you remember who you are. You were never meant to be enslaved by anxiety. You were never meant to live paralyzed by pressure. That's a malfunction of your design. You were built to function in faith, not fear. Some people treat problems like permanent barriers, but problems are actually divine invitations. Every problem is an opportunity in disguise, an invitation to grow, to lead, and to manifest your potential. But your perspective must shift. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you need to ask, "What is this trying to draw out of me?" You're not being punished, you're being positioned. Positioned to take territory. Positioned to rise in strength. Positioned to awaken the power that's been lying dormant inside of you. Let me tell you the truth. The enemy of your soul is not afraid of your attendance. He's afraid of your awareness. Because once you become aware of who you are, what you carry, and what you were built for, defeat becomes impossible. Not because life gets easier, but because you stop giving problems authority they don't deserve. You start confronting what you used to tolerate. You stop running from what you were called to rule. You don't defeat problems by avoiding them. You defeat them by facing them with the full weight of your purpose. With the mindset that says, "I was made for this." When you understand that your design includes dominion, everything changes. You no longer see problems as threats. You see them as territory to take. You move from fear to faith, from reaction to rulership, from waiting for deliverance to walking in authority. You must rise up with a renewed mindset that refuses to bow again. A mindset that doesn't negotiate with pressure. A mindset that stands tall even when knees are shaking. Because dominion doesn't mean you never feel fear. It means fear never makes your decisions. You lead from your identity, not your insecurity. You act from your calling, not your crisis. The earth doesn't need more people who escape problems. It needs more people who solve them. And that starts with remembering your design. You are not here to simply get through life. You are here to transform it. You were not born to shrink in the face of darkness. You were born to shine in it. Because you were not created to surrender to problems. You were designed to dominate them. One of the greatest lies ever told is that your situation has the final say. But hear me clearly, what happens around you does not have the authority to rewrite what was placed inside you. The conditions of your life may change, but the call on your life is eternal. You must never confuse what you're walking through with where you're headed. Your destiny is not a reaction to your circumstance. It's a response to your conviction. So many people lose their way not because their dream wasn't real, but because their conviction wasn't rooted. They allowed the winds of life to move their foundation. They let disappointment speak louder than their design. They took detours and believed those detours disqualified them. But purpose doesn't expire in pain. Purpose doesn't die in delay. And destiny doesn't disappear just because circumstances get dark. What defines your direction is not your condition. It is the core belief you hold about who you are and why you're here. The truth is your convictions must outlast your conditions, because life will test them. Every purpose-driven person will walk through a season that contradicts what they believe. You'll believe for healing and still feel sick. You'll speak vision and still see nothing. You'll declare freedom and still feel stuck. That's not the time to doubt your destiny. It's the time to anchor deeper in your conviction. Because conviction is what carries you when the path isn't visible. Your current reality is not your permanent residence. Too many people make permanent decisions in temporary seasons. They give up in a storm that was meant to pass. They redefine their worth based on the pain of a moment. But hear this, your worth was established before the problem. Your calling was settled before the crisis. Destiny is not fragile. It is forged in fire. What proves you are ready for what's ahead is not comfort. It's commitment. You don't become who you're called to be when things are easy. You become it when you choose to believe in what you cannot see. When everything in your life says quit, and you say no. When the bank account says broke, and your vision says build. When the diagnosis says done, and your faith says not yet. That's conviction. That's where greatness is born. There are two types of people in life, those who are defined by their environment and those who define it. The first group adjusts to the world. The second group adjusts the world to their vision. Which one are you? Because your environment is always speaking. It will try to label you. It will try to shrink you. But destiny has its own language. It doesn't speak convenience. It speaks commitment. It doesn't need a vote to be valid. It just needs a heart that refuses to quit. You see, conviction is not about hype. It's not about emotions. It's not about how you feel on a good day. Conviction is a decision. It's the unwavering belief in the truth of your assignment, no matter the conditions. It's when your yes to purpose becomes louder than your fear of pressure. It's when you stand in the middle of contradiction and still say, I know why I'm here. Every great life ever lived was tested by circumstances. Joseph was thrown into a pit and then a prison, but his conviction led him to a palace. Esther was an orphan, but her conviction saved a nation. David was chased, mocked, and rejected, but his conviction kept him running toward the throne. What do they all have in common? They refused to let their season define their spirit. Your convictions are your compass. When the path is unclear, when doors close, when people walk away, when progress slows, your conviction becomes your guide. It's the fire that won't go out. The voice that keeps whispering, there's more. And I promise you, if you hold on to that voice, if you protect it, feed it, and obey it, your circumstances will have to bow to it. The world does not reward intentions. It rewards convictions, the kind that push through pain, rise after failure, and keep walking when there's no applause. The kind that hold on to truth when every lie says, let go. That's where destiny is born, not in ease, but in endurance, not in comfort, but in commitment. So stop measuring your future by what's happening right now. Stop using today's limitations to define tomorrow's promise. You are not a reflection of your struggle. You are a reflection of your conviction. Because circumstances do not define destiny, convictions do. When your mind is aligned with purpose, nothing can defeat you permanently. Purpose is not just a goal. It is the original intention of your creation. It is the reason why you breathe, why you fight, why you rise again and again. And when your mind comes into agreement with that purpose, you become unstoppable. Not because life stops hitting you, but because what's in you refuses to break. You might bend, but you won't snap. You might fall, but you won't stay down. Because purpose doesn't just give you direction, it gives you resilience. The human mind, when left unguarded, is vulnerable to fear, confusion, and distraction. But a mind anchored in purpose becomes a fortress. It is not tossed by emotion. It is not dismantled by delays. It does not collapse under criticism. It knows why it exists, and because it knows it stands. When your thoughts are governed by purpose, you don't just survive problems, you conquer them with intentionality. This is why alignment is everything. You can have potential, but without alignment, potential is wasted. You can have gifting, but without alignment, gifting becomes misused. But when the mind aligns with the assignment, your life begins to flow with clarity and conviction. You begin to say no to distractions, not out of fear, but out of focus. You walk into rooms differently. You face storms differently. You interpret rejection differently. Because now, everything you face has to pass through the lens of your purpose. Defeat only becomes permanent when the mind accepts it as final. But a mind aligned with purpose refuses to make defeat a destination. It treats it as a detour, not a definition. That kind of mind asks, what is this teaching me? Instead of why is this happening to me? It looks at the pain and sees preparation. It looks at the pressure and sees promotion. It looks at the delay and sees development. Because it knows that purpose is not seasonal. It is eternal. When your mind is aligned with purpose, time does not intimidate you. You are not rushed by others' timelines. You are not panicked by seeming pauses. You trust the process because you trust the purpose. And you understand that sometimes the greatest strength is not in moving fast, but in moving faithfully, step by step, thought by thought, decision by decision, each one in line with who you are and what you were born to do. This kind of alignment produces authority. And authority is not loud. It is secure. It's the quiet confidence that says, this storm cannot take me out because I'm still on assignment. It's the inner voice that says, this loss is real, but it's not the end. It's the clarity that refuses to let trauma rewrite your identity. You stop living reactive and start living redemptive. You stop surviving battles and start mastering them. The world will always try to define you by what you go through. But when your mind is aligned with purpose, you begin to define yourself by what you're going to. You don't ignore the facts, but you elevate above them. You see the reality, but you live from revelation. And that revelation is this: if I am still breathing, purpose is still speaking. If I still have vision, then this moment is not the end. If I still have conviction, then no failure has the final word. People who live with purpose-aligned minds don't escape the fire. They are refined by it. They don't panic in pressure. They are perfected by it. They don't beg for escape. They build endurance. Because they are not chasing comfort. They are chasing calling. And when your mind is ruled by calling, quitting is not an option. You may rest. You may regroup, but you will not surrender. Because surrendering to defeat would require you to deny everything you were designed for. A mind aligned with purpose does not need perfect conditions to move. It just needs a reason. And purpose is the highest reason there is. It gives you power when the tank feels empty. It gives you vision when doors close. It gives you peace in chaos because it assures you that none of this is wasted. Even the tears are part of the testimony. Even the trials are shaping the triumph. And so I say this without apology: align your mind with your purpose, and you become indestructible in spirit. Weapons may form, but they will not prosper. Setbacks may come, but they will not stop you. You may lose things, but you will not lose yourself. Because when your mind is aligned with purpose, nothing can defeat you permanently. Giants don't fall because you're loud. They don't fall because you're angry. They fall when you step into the full authority of who you really are. They fall when your thinking is no longer held hostage by fear, doubt, or limitation. They fall when your mind has been transformed, no longer reacting to problems like a victim, but responding like a ruler. Because every giant is first defeated in your thoughts before it collapses in your life. A renewed mind is not just positive, it's powerful. It doesn't just hope for change, it commands it. It doesn't beg for breakthrough, it builds it. And once your mind is renewed, you stop asking giants to move. You declare that they must fall. You no longer negotiate with what threatens you. You confront it not with flesh, but with authority. The kind of authority that comes from knowing who you are and who sent you. The size of the giant doesn't matter when you know the strength of your assignment. The moment you renew your mind to align with truth, your perspective shifts. You stop seeing giants as obstacles and start seeing them as opportunities to manifest what's inside you. What looks like a barrier is actually a mirror. It's exposing how you think. And once your thinking changes, your battles change. What once intimidated you becomes the very thing that reveals your growth. David didn't kill Goliath with a sword. He defeated him with a renewed mind. While the army of Israel saw a giant, David saw an uncircumcised intruder standing in the way of a promise. It wasn't about strength. It was about sight. He wasn't relying on external power. He was moving from internal conviction. His victory didn't begin in the valley. It began in his mind. He had already decided, this giant must fall. You'll never conquer externally what you tolerate internally. The reason some giants keep standing is because your mind keeps bowing. You cannot carry old thinking into new territory. You cannot defeat modern giants with outdated mindsets. You must renew your mind, daily, intentionally, relentlessly. Because the level of transformation you walk in is directly connected to the level of truth you live by. And truth always confronts the lie that gave your giant permission to stand. Giants feed on your hesitation. They grow in the silence of your identity. But once you renew your mind, hesitation becomes holy confidence. Once you remember your authority, fear has to flee. You stop standing at the edge of your purpose and you step in. Not because the fight disappears, but because now you know it can't win. A renewed mind doesn't need evidence. It trusts alignment. It says, I may not look qualified, but I'm called. I may not have experience, but I have oil. I may not have a sword, but I've got a stone and I know how to use it. This is how giants fall. Not by might, not by appearance, but by the authority of a mind that refuses to bow to the old version of self. Hear this: your greatest battles are not against people. They are against patterns. Patterns of fear. Patterns of small thinking. Patterns of generational dysfunction. But patterns are only sustained by mindsets. And the moment your mindset shifts, the pattern begins to break. And when the pattern breaks, the giant has nothing left to stand on. That's why the most dangerous person is not the one who has the most money or followers. It's the one whose mind has been renewed. The one who refuses to think like a slave when they were born to lead. The one who refuses to settle for cycles when they were designed for impact. That person becomes a giant slayer not by trying harder, but by thinking higher. So if you want to see your giants fall, Stop focusing on the size of the problem and start focusing on the state of your mind. The real war is not in front of you, it's within you. And once you win that war, everything around you begins to shift. Your voice gains authority, your steps gain power, your presence disturbs darkness. Why? Because a renewed mind walks with heaven's backing. When you rise in the authority of your renewed mind, giants don't stand a chance. They may shout, but their voice loses power. They may block, but their grip loses strength. Because you're not just reacting anymore, you're ruling. You're not just trying to make it, you're taking territory. And as long as your mind stays renewed, every giant must fall. Because every giant falls when you rise in the authority of your renewed mind. So now I say to you with boldness, you are not ordinary. You were never meant to live beneath the weight of fear, confusion, or mediocrity. You were born to dominate, not to surrender. You were fashioned with intention, designed with power, and released into time to fulfill a specific assignment. The mind is not a decoration, it is a weapon. And when aligned with your divine purpose, it becomes the most powerful tool on earth. Everything that has tried to intimidate you, silence you, or delay you has only been permitted to reveal what you carry. The giants you face are not greater than the God who sent you. The circumstances around you are not stronger than the conviction within you. And the battles you fight are not signs of your defeat. They are evidence of your destiny. Your future is not in the hands of culture, crisis, or opinion. It is hidden within the clarity of your mindset. Align your thoughts with truth. Govern your life by purpose. Stand in the authority of your identity. Because when your mind is renewed, your steps are ordered. When your thoughts are elevated, your influence is expanded. And when your spirit is anchored in conviction, defeat is not an option, it's a lie that loses power. The world doesn't need another person trying to escape life. It needs people who have made up their mind to live it fully, intentionally, purposefully, and with dominion. You were not created to adjust to the noise. You were born to rise above it. You were not placed here to run from challenges. You were assigned to transform them. You were not sent to agree with dysfunction. You were chosen to disrupt it. So rise. Think differently. Speak boldly. Move intentionally. Let every setback remind you of the setup. Let every limitation provoke the revelation of your authority. Let every closed door remind you that your access was never based on man, but on mandate. Because in the end, you don't defeat life by strength alone. You defeat it by mindset. And when that mindset is aligned with heaven's assignment for your life, there is no enemy, no barrier, and no failure that can keep you from your destiny. You have the mind. You have the power. Now go and manifest the victory you were born to walk in.